Shimmering Skies is officially in game stores today, and with it comes a ton of new exciting strategies. So, to celebrate, Gibby and I once again cooked up a new experimental deck for every single ink combination in the game. These are designed to showcase some of the hot new cards from the set. So, without further ado, here are 15 new decks in 15 minutes. All right, I've got a spicy new deck for one of my favorite ink combinations. This is Emerald and Amethyst, and we are calling it Body Language HAH because we are building this deck entirely around all of the Ursula possibilities within this color combination. We have 24 cards named Ursula, which is fantastic for the new card We Know the Way. It's a 3-cost song that lets you shuffle a card from your discard pile into your deck and then reveal the top card of your deck. If it has the same name as the card you shuffled, you get to play the card for free. Otherwise, you draw it. But this is really nice because we have so many Ursulas. As long as we can get an Ursula or two in the discard pile early, we can play the song and hopefully draw into some of the big Ursulas like Ursula Power Hungry and Ursula Sea Witch Queen. And since it's a song, Ursula Deceiver of All can sing it twice. That seems pretty darn nutty, but it doesn't stop there because we have Hades Double Dealer that can sort of do that same effect, banishing a cheap early game Ursula in exchange for bringing in a big 7-drop Ursula above curve. This is going to be a wacky, fun deck that people are not going to know what hit them if you can pull off the combo. A little bit of luck involved, but I believe in you.
First deck up for me is Aggro Spin Cycle. This color combination of Amber and Amethyst is a favorite for all aggro lovers, but this time we've got a couple new tools to bolster the archetype. Daisy Duck Donald's Date is a card that people are very excited about because of the nice 1/4 stat line on a 1-drop body, but it also quests for 2, so it's a great early card to be able to play. Sven Reindeer Steed help stand some of your units that otherwise would die to challenges if they were attacked. Mirabelle Madrigal, Family Gatherer, if you can get your board wide enough, she alone will close out games for you. Magical Aid will help some of your weaker units to be able to challenge and attack on your opponent's board, but then bounce them back to your hand to be able to get some good lore out of them again on the board when you replay them. Revive, help bring something back from the board. I think Revive is going to be really good with Baloo. That pretty much gives you guaranteed lore because of the bodyguard, and it gets lore when it's banished. Miracle Candle, give us some additional lore for having a wide enough board. And then Rapunzel's Tower is a new location that'll help bolster the willpower of our board, help keep them alive and get wide enough for Mirabelle.
Ruby Amethyst is a pretty powerful ink combination, so I wanted to do something besides the typical Ruby Amethyst control strategy when I'm doing Ice Palace for 1. This is an aggro location deck, which is designed to play off of the 2 great new Amethyst locations. We have, of course, Elsa's Ice Palace, which allows you to keep a character exerted, and it collects 1 at the start of the turn, hence the name of the deck, as well as the Library, which is sort of a cheaper version of Queen's Castle. Still gets you card draw, gets you a little less lore, but it comes down earlier and has a big 8 willpower. So, okay, what about the characters? No location deck would be present without Jim Hawkins' Space Traveler, which, of course, you would absolutely love to be able to drop alongside one of these great, powerful locations. For a little bit of extra card draw, we have the Amethyst Chromacon taking the place of Friends on the Other Side, so you don't have to exert your character in order to draw cards. Instead, you can quest. And then we have this powerful questing body in Earth Giant. Yes, it lets your opponent draw a card, but you don't care because you want to be cashing in on that ridiculous 4/5 stat line and 2 questing for only 4 ink.
This is a revamp from probably my favorite deck from the Ursula's Return set of Red Fossa, but this time we're calling it Newfasa. This is Amber and Ruby, and largely the deck is very similar to what we ran in the Ursula's Return set with a couple exceptions. We've got this Gaston Pure Paragon. For each damage character you have in play, this costs 2 less. We're already running the Mulan Injured Soldier and Mother Gothel, Withered and Wicked, that damage themselves when they come in. Other units will also take damage along the way. That's pretty natural. So Gaston should be pretty cheap by the time we play him. Wreck-It Ralph Admiral Underpants. When you play this character, return a character card from your discard to your hand if it's a princess. Gain 2 lore. We've got some great princesses to be able to return in both of the Mulans and Rapunzel gifted with healing. So there's free lore there. Combine that with Radigan's Party, a great new location. If you have a damaged character here, this gains 2 lore. It's a cheap location, doesn't cost a lot to move it there, but will net you some free lore in the long run.
All right, next up for Sapphire Steel, we have Do You Want to Build a Board State? This is, of course, playing into last set's awesome new hero cards, especially Anna, the 2-drop Braving the Storm, and Anna Truehearted, which allow your heroes to quest for more once Anna quests. Of course, we are filling this deck with heroes, including some really cool new resilient options, including the 1-drop Resist 1 Mickey Mouse, great for buffing up with some of your other cards like the Mickey Mouse Standard Bearer. And then we also have at the top end some great new heroes, including this powerful Simba, son of Mufasa, likely to be a steel staple because it can banish items or locations whenever you play it. And to top it off, we are hitting the Arthur King Victorious, giving one of your characters Challenger +2 and Resist +2 and letting it challenge ready characters. This is a fantastic finisher for a deck that is able to use some cheap guys that are heroes like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck to ramp ahead so you actually can bring in Arthur reasonably within the course of an aggro mid-range game plan.
All in discard, a triumphant return to the discard archetype that doesn't involve Bucky in the new set. Most of the units are from other sets, nothing a lot really new in the character field for the Shimmering Skies, with the exception of the 2 Mother Gothels. Mother Gothel, Conceited Manipulator, 2-drop that almost acts like a 5-drop because you do want that extra 3 ink to be able to trigger her ability and bounce a character back to hand of your opponents. And Mother Gothel, Unwavering Schemer. When you play this character, each opponent chooses one of their characters and returns that card to their hand. So very similar ability, but just a better shiftable Floodborn body. Something I do want to note is Prince John's Mirror. At the end of your opponent's turn, if you have more than 3 cards in their hand, they discard until they have 3 cards in their hand. I think this is a great counter to a whole new world decks. I expect Steel Song to be very good in this upcoming set. Use Prince John as a counter if you're playing this discard deck.
All right, a lot of people have been buzzing about Blurple in Shimmering Skies meta, and I myself am a Blurple believer thanks to the new legendary card, Merlin Intellectual Visionary. This allows you to shift onto one of your other Merlins, especially these powerful Amethyst Merlins in Rabbit and Goat, and then search your deck for any card and put it into your hand. This is particularly interesting because it allows you to toolbox whatever it is you need throughout the game. You need a Sea Witch Queen to turn off songs? You got it. You need to tap people down and not let them ready? Here's Elsa. You want to finish off the game with Mufasa, ruler of Pride Rock? Of course you can. Just go find it with Merlin. To get there, we are doing a really cool ramp on 2 with Tipo Growing Sun or 1 Jump Ahead, which curves nicely into the 4-drop Goat and then directly into the shift Merlin. So you have a very consistent way to be ramping through the game and hitting your Merlins on time thanks to the redundancy of Amethyst, Rabbits, and Goats.
Angels in the architecture, a new take on Amethyst Steel here. We're location focused here. Amethyst got a big bolster in their locations with Elsa's Ice Palace being able to keep an exerted character from readying that already is exerted. The Library Gift for Bell being able to draw cards when a unit is banished at that location. We've got some great locations here between that and Steel to be able to control our opponent's board. Jafar, Tyrannical Hypnotist, opposing characters with cost 4 or less can't challenge at all is a great ability. We just have to be able to get there. We've got a lot of different ways here to be able to quest hard, refill our hand through some cheeky methods like the card draw off of Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood, Friends on the Other Side, a tried and true classic, and even Dog Bold Knight. When you play this character, you may discard your hand to draw 2 cards. If your hand is empty, you're getting 2 cards back. Get locations out early, flood the board, protect them by keeping characters exerted, and quest before your opponent can catch up.
This deck probably looks like a little bit of a mess, but what I am trying to do with this deck is lean in as much as we can into the Robin Hood package of playing a lot of different copies of Robin Hood, which is turning on the shift options of not just the old 5-drop Robin Hood, but also the new one, which gets extra questing for every damaged character in play. And how are we doing that? Well, with all of the Floodborns in the deck, there's no Bucky this time, but we are using Morph and Chief Bogo to damage things in play and then have some great payoff cards with Sherwood Forest, with Anna, Diplomatic Queen, as well as the new Bonsai, which allows you to exert damaged characters so that you can go and challenge them. This is going to be a very fun deck, but I imagine there's going to be some tinkering that is needed to really complete the list. So let me know in the comments if you have any ideas on how to improve it.
I am very excited about this Heroes in the Mist list that is Emerald and Sapphire. It utilizes a lot of the ramp tools that are now associated on the characters, like Tipo Growing Sun and Donald Duck Focused Flatfoot, joining some of our tried and true ramp tools like Mickey Mouse Detective and Winnie the Pooh Having a Think. We gain cards every time we do drop additional cards on the same turn into our Inkwell with Chicha Dedicated Mother. And then what do we do now that we don't have a whole lot of cards? We drop Clarabelle Light on Her Hoofs to be able to draw back up to the same amount of cards that our opponent has. Dump our hand, refill, get it back up there with Clarabelle, and keep on the gas. This is a tempo deck that has the potential to go wide and just outpace your opponent before they can ever catch up.
All right, for Sapphire and Amber, I have the Council of Queens here for you. This is based off of my Alice Growing Girl deck from past expansions. I've been championing this deck for a long time. Alice is still a centerpiece of the deck, but we are surrounding Alice with a whole host of queens, which is going to turn on the Queen Crown of the Council, which lets you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal any number of queens, and put them directly into your hand. This is fantastic because it's also going to turn on the Queen Fairest of All, where for every queen you have in play, this character can quest for 1 more. Of course, you still have the powerful Alice combinations, but you now have a little bit of a faster way to close out games thanks to the Queen's Sensor Core. A little bit of nice extra card draw and questing for a deck that is right on the edge of meta relevance.
New item, Who Dis, is an adaptation of the popular Ruby Sapphire decks from last meta that ran a whole bunch of items, except we're a little bit more aggressive this time, running a lot more items. Some new ones like Medal of Heroes, that when you banish this, you can give one of your characters +2 lore for the turn. Sapphire Chromacon, Chromacon. I was right the first time. When you banish this item, you gain, and every time you banish an item, you gain 2 lore. We've got a lot of cheap items to be able to get out, utilizing the Queen Diviner, being able to ready her again to do it again with Shield of Virtue. Take advantage of having a lot of items with places like Ariel's Grotto, which I felt like was on the verge of being good last time, and Newfasa, Ruler of Pride Rock, something that we can ramp into that will be able to reset our Inkwell and play a lot of items out. A Sheriff of Nottingham, every time we have an item out, for every item we have, he gets cheaper. Big unit to be able to play out. We now actually have some great things to ramp into along with Tamatoa, not just Tamatoa. This deck has big potential to go wide quickly.
All right, for Ruby and Emerald, we have Hoofin It. This is a deck based around the new cards for Clarabelle, especially Clarabelle, Light on Her Hooves. This is going to be the centerpiece of an aggressive deck that allows you to dump your hand early, playing as many characters onto the board, and including things like Shifting Diablo, which requires you to drop cards from your hand in order for the big payoff of Clarabelle, which can be shifted in on some of the earlier Clarabelles. This will allow you to refill your hand at the end of your turn right back up to the size of your opponent, which will be growing and growing throughout the course of the game, thanks to cards like You're Welcome and Mother Knows Best, which are going to be able to return cards to your opponent's hand or even allow them to draw extra cards, which you will, of course, be able to play off of and refill with Clarabelle.
I think we can finally use a whole new world and Ruby and Steel instead of just Sapphire and Steel Song. The way we're going to do that is utilizing one of our new favorite cards, Robin Hood Sharpshooter. Whenever this character quests, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal an action that costs 6 or less, and you get to play it for free. So Robin Hood allows us to play when he quests at the beginning of our turn. If we find a whole new world, play that for free, which would be a fantastic, be able to reset our hand. Robin Hood Beloved Outlaw and Robin Hood Champion. Sure, we can always sing it in case we don't find our Robin Hood Sharpshooter. Queen of Hearts, a lot of our attacking units here to be able to draw us cards. Simba Lost Prince draws us a card as a 3-drop, and our new 6-drop Simba is pretty spicy, so we have a little bit of control here. Still should be able to get some free lore off of Flynn Rider with great units like Sisu. Noi, I think, does really well here because of all of the songs that we have and of the other actions. Every time we play an action, Noi can basically challenge something for free and not take any damage, and we are loaded with songs.
All right, I'm sure there's a bunch of Steel Song fans disappointed not to see a deck around Prince Naveen here with Amber and Steel, but I've got something pretty spicy. I've been working on a version of this deck in the past, focusing just on Chernobog, but this is Reindeer Games. Instead, we are focusing on churning through our own deck, putting as many songs in the discard pile as fast as possible in order to turn on our Kristoff Reindeer Keepers, which come into play for one less for every song in the discard pile. But unlike Chernobog, you don't have to then shuffle those songs back into the deck. So throughout the game, these Kristoffs with Bodyguard and 3 questing are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And you have a lot of ways to discard things, not only shifting in a queen for singing Whole New World, right? But you also have things like Simba Future King, which churns a card. You have things like Cinderella Knight in Training, which churns a card. And both of those have shift targets in the higher end, including this new Simba, which can get rid of items and locations. And of course, Cinderella Stout Hearted, which is going to be great with all the songs that you have to sing.